So, we've been excited. We are energized. Who should take the stage next? So, to continue along this road of excellence is a man who I have had the privilege to sit under him. He has mentored me in ways that he probably does not know. He has done some programs with us. So let me do the formal introduction of this young man coming to speak next. Richard Dick Solomon is the principal consultant and managing director of the Development Consulting Center, a firm he founded in 1997. Richard holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Management, a postgraduate certificate in Organizational Development, a Master of Business Administration, specializing in organization transformation. He is also the holder of a second MBA, specializing in human resource management. He is the author of the Signature Service Strategy, a system that guides organizations on how to develop signature service cultures. His firm has provided training and consulting services to companies in over 40 countries in all sectors. Richard is a change architect and strategist who supports organizations through skilled consultancy, training, and coaching. Some areas of specialization include strategic human resource management, strategic planning, team building, leadership development, change management, job task and process analysis, executive coaching, and the signature service strategy. He has over 20 years' experience in organization development, including that of a line specialist, an alignment specialist, coach, consultant, and training and development manager. Mr. Solomon is an executive member of the Trinidad and Tobago Scout Association, a director of the PRVM Performing Arts Academy, a member of the NTL Institute of Applied Behavioral Sciences, and a member of the Management Committee of the Program of Development and Training at the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organization in the United Kingdom. Richard is listed among the who's who in Trinidad business. He personally provides training to thousands of individuals annually and has lectured management and human resource management at the tertiary level. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Dick Solomon.
Thank you so very much. Good morning, everyone. I don't know who decided to put me after those two guys. Thank you so much. That is the pursuit of excellence. See, we get very good at what we do. It gets so good that it's fun and it looks easy. It's not easy, but it looks easy. Not easy to people like me. Good morning, and protocols having been established, I'm glad to be with you to share some thoughts on excellence as it relates to the single most important part of your business, the single most important element of your business. And despite what you may have been told, those are your customers, full stop. Absolutely, there's no other question. There's no other issue. I want to talk to you a little bit about my own view of service and how I see organizations in the world today pursuing organizational success, hard numbers, through the customer focus. So these blue circles are where we have done business, and a lot of our clients sit right here in the Americas, of course. I like to say from Vancouver down to Venezuela in the Americas, and then we do quite a bit of work in Western and Southern Africa. And as we work with organizations around the globe, and yes, and people do ask me, do you live in Trinidad? Yes, I still live right here. As we work with organizations around the world, what we've come to realize is that the most successful organizations on the planet are singularly focused on what their customers want. Absolutely, there's no question about that. We've worked with many organizations, big and small, all over the world, and one of the challenges that, in particular, and I'll come to insurance and banks in a minute, but in particular, electric utilities, and I want to focus on them for a while because they've had a particular model for the last few years, they are struggling with is this whole issue of renewables. Now, although it's illegal, we can go to courts and places like that, and what's the other one that sells, PriceSmart, and buy a light fixture that you don't have to plug into the system. It pulls power from the sun. It's still illegal. You're not supposed to generate your own power. Our laws don't allow you to do that. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to buy it from T&Tech. It's like water. WASA owns all the water. However, the customers tell us what we want. The customers say, this is what we want. And what happens is the laws catch up. The organizations catch up. Electric utilities are struggling with this. And very soon, if not already, banks and insurance companies are going to face similar challenges. There's no two ways about that. So if you think, and some of us as organizations, we think we can tell customers what they must do. That's changing. That's absolutely changing. Last year I spent a month, or was it 6 weeks in Nigeria, working with a regulator, telecom regulator there. And these guys had on all kinds of nice clothing. So I said to one of them in the workshop, in the session, I said, where can I get some of these to buy? He said, we'll bring you our tailor. So sure enough, the next day the tailor showed up, ready to measure and so on. I said, I'll go to him. He said, no, we'll bring him. So he came. And so he sent me some examples, took my measurements, I told him what I wanted, and we agreed on a price and so on. And the guys who brought him said, whatever you agree on, tell us, we will negotiate a lower price for you. And I said, good. So they negotiated and we came to a final price. And he said, here's my account number. He sent it by WhatsApp. Transfer the money there. I said, well, I can't do that. He says, what do you mean you can't do that? I said, well, tell me your bank account. He said, well, that's it. I said, well, where is this held? He said, well, it's in the phone. So being from Trinidad and Tobago, I scratched my head a little bit because we don't have such systems. And in that part of Africa, for example, many people are unbanked. And I put it in quotes because, are they really? They are able to do banking type transactions without a bank. Customers will tell you what they want, and it's up to you to decide if you're going to go there. And if you don't, then you suffer the consequences. Let's look at the landscape of customer service in the 21st century. All right. That has nothing to do with me. Yeah, man, I can handle it. Thank you so much for... All right. So here's what we have. Online retail sales, 12% of retail sales. And this excludes cars and bars and restaurants. Amazon, we know what's going on with Amazon. We know. And I don't have to tell you, how many people are purchasers on Amazon? You've bought something from there. 40% of US retail sales, right? Online sales, sorry. E-commerce will account for 15% of retail sales by 2020. And we have now the e-tail, I call them, the e-tail enablers. This is Facebook, YouTube, those kinds of people, Google. They are enablers, meaning that they don't really sell you anything, but they make it very difficult for you not to notice the people who sell you something. Remember there was a time you could go on Facebook and browse and not be bothered? Now mention that you want to rent a car. Just mention it. And then it starts to show up on your timeline because they're listening. That's a fact. And we are seeing now that e-tail is able to compete on multiple fronts: price, quality, convenience, service. It used to be that we would travel, many of us do, and we go to places and we would shop, and then we would bring those things back, whether by barrel or otherwise. Now, what we do is we shop online and we have it sent to us wherever we're going to be. It's a lot easier. We don't have to go and fight. And so customers, and this is what this has to do with you, because you may be wondering, what does this have to do with us? Well, customers are being influenced. Easy, quick, cheaper, etc. Customers are being influenced. We are, as customers, all of us, are being told this is what service should look like. I was flying to the Cayman Islands, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, and it was at the height of this MAX 8 problem with, the aircrafts. And so we were delayed in Miami International for 8 hours. We were not told, we just got there and they said the flight is no longer in the system. So what do you mean? So, well, there's no such flight, so you have to wait until the next one. So, you try to make up time and so on, and you try to be very industrious, do some work. There's only so much you could do in an airport, and after a while, oh Lord. So I'm standing looking out, this big, the windows that they have, walls of glass, better said. And there goes a plane taxiing down the runway and going into some place with the little Amazon smiley face on it. I did a double take. And I said, is that an Amazon plane? So you know what we do? I Google. Because, of course, you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, physiological, and then love needs, and then self-actualization. Well, below all of that is Wi-Fi. So that when you get somewhere, you get connected, right? So I go on and I Google and I say, well, what's going on here? Sure enough, Amazon has launched an airline. Why would Amazon launch an airline? To move packages quicker to you. Because they know when we buy something, we want it. You know, that's the whole idea. And they're now moving to last mile, meaning that last mile from wherever the last place is now to your house. They have now taken that over in many cases and pretty much fired FedEx from doing that piece of the business so that they can do next day. And they're piloting now drone systems. You know, so the blimp is going to come over a certain area, release a swarm of drones to deliver to your backyard. Maybe not in Trinidad and Tobago, because this market is pretty small, but in bigger markets. Why is Jeff Bezos doing this? Well, he figured out very early on that if you focus on what your customers want, they'll keep paying, and they'll pay more. Customer service is good business strategy. It's actually the best business strategy. And even with the divorce, Jeff Bezos is still going to be one of the richest men on planet Earth. Well, this is public news, right? So the 21st century customer is busy and demanding. They have less disposable income, and therefore they are focused on what's in it for me, what's the return on my investment, demands. So speed, customers want speed, they want higher quality, they want better value. Customers don't want to wait anymore. We are impatient, we don't want to wait. We want it our way, and we want it now. Is this Burger King? Can have it your way. We want VIP service. Customers want to be treated well. And those of you and I've done some work with banks across the region, and you know, you have customers. They don't have a lot of money, but they say, I'll take all my money out of here. Because customers have power. And that's a reality. They may not have a lot, but as far as they're concerned, this is important. And what we find is that the organizations that are winning are the ones who are focused on the customer. Now, here's an interesting statistics, and I want to talk to you about a few of these now. Only 1 in 26 customers will complain out loud. So you know what I wonder when I saw the 1100 number? What's the real number? That's the number of complaints, I get that. But I wonder how many people go, you see me, I'm bothering. Before before I lose my mind, I'm not even going to fight that fight. I wonder how many of those you really have. And as customers get more options, I wonder what this will look like if we don't begin to bring that number down. And I'm just wondering, these are just questions. Today we might say, well, where else will they go? I'm not saying that you are saying that. I said we might say, where else will they go? Well, get this. TSTT used to say that. You remember that? Competition, right? So up came Digicel after the 50 years. You all know this story. It was written into our legislation in most of these Commonwealth islands. You couldn't run another network. It was only cable and wireless. That's all you could do, and all the derivatives that fell out, including TSTT. And we suffered for a while with that because we could go nowhere else. Remember those days? We could go nowhere else. Up come Digicel, and they said, you know what, we're going to work this thing out. After the 50 years ran out and the monopoly status ended, they ran their first network in Dominica. They didn't launch first in Dominica. They ran, because that's the most mountainous island in the Caribbean. They said, if we can get it to work here, we'll get it to work anywhere. They launched in Jamaica, and in 2 years, they took 60% of the wireless market in Jamaica. 2 years, 60% of customers went across to the competition. Cable and wireless is now a shell of their former selves and struggling to survive in many territories. Now, this is public knowledge. And you know what that is about? Customers. Because if the customers say they want something, then we should deliver it. Customers feel fed up. They feel frustrated. And I don't know, I mean, some of us publish numbers and we say customers are happy and so on. I don't know how happy customers are really. Many of your customers. Or do we just take what we get? Smart organizations change before they have to. But there's a tremendous business opportunity. Let me hit you with some numbers, yeah? So 2/3 of customers that leave a business leave for a service problem. This research has been done over and over and over. 2/3, 2 out of every 3 customers who leave a business leave for a service problem, some service type problem. 85% of customers are willing to pay more for better service. Now, factors have to be equal. So the money must be available in the society, etc., etc. The economy must be able to support that, etc. But all things being equal, customers are willing to pay more. Think about yourself. How many times have you bought cheaper and ring your ears? Or, if you prefer, rue the day. You could say it nicer. Yeah? So customers are, in fact, willing to pay more if service is better. Customers say, 95% of customers say organizations do not exceed their service expectations. These are startling statistics. Let me go on. I said this, 70% of complaining customers will do business with you again if you solve the problem in their favor. That number jumps to 95% if you solve it on the spot. In other words, long before it gets escalated to a supervisor, manager, CEO, up to the ombudsman's office, if you solve the problem, they'll do business with you again. Faster you can solve the problem, more likely they'll do business with you and do more business with you. You know what that requires, though? You have to empower your people to make good decisions. And let me just say, because I've done this for 21 years, worked with so many organizations, chances are your people already have the answers, you know. They know exactly what's the right thing to do. Notice I said the right thing, as far as customers are concerned. How many times have you seen a situation where someone comes with a problem, there's an issue, customer is complaining, there's an issue, and the person on the front line, the CSR, who is usually, you know, not very experienced or maybe a little bit more experienced, but certainly less than those higher up in the business, they actually just have the answer and they know what's the right thing to do. And if they don't, then you need to empower them and coach them so that they have the answer. See, that number should actually be coming down. I was a little bit concerned that it's going up. And then the length of time for resolution, which is another issue, is actually going up. As far as I'm concerned, this does not augur well for a customer focus. But there's money in focusing on the customer. 90% of the public will consider service when doing business with an organization or choosing to do business. Well, there are a few things. Well, we know that if you improve the customer experience, then retention goes up, satisfaction goes up, and here's a nice one for you, cross-selling and upselling goes up. In other words, the more happy the customers are with you, the more they'll buy from you. Now, I don't know about you, but I think, at least I know, if we could keep our customers and keep them buying more, then that's in our best interest. And the way you do that is by satisfying them. I know it sounds a little bit simple. But it's what Amazon has done, it's what Disney has done, it's what Apple has done. Talk about Apple for a minute. They've lost their mind. They've raised the price of their phones. The iPhone, whatever X it is $1,000+. I think somebody told me they paid $1,200 for one because it had, I don't know, whatever in it. Why? How are they able to even do that and still have people lining up? But they figured it out. They know exactly what their customers want. They're not selling to everyone. They're selling to their customers. And if you keep those people happy, they'll keep buying, all factors being equal. So, here's an interesting statistic. Bain & Company did this research a few years ago. 80%, the delivery gap, 80% of companies believe that they provide a superior proposition. You see that little box on the next to it there on the right-hand side? That's the customers who believe. So let me say it differently. 80% of companies think they are the best thing since sliced bread. 72% of your customers are rolling their eyes and going, you really feel all of that? And that's the reality. And this research has been done over and over and over. This particular comes from Bain & Company. Here's some stats that you might like. I don't know if you could see the numbers, but I'll share them with you. So we know that the market always goes up in the long term, right? So buy and hold. We know that, right? So you buy and you hold. You buy low, you hold for a while, and it's going to go up. And panic should not be an investment strategy. We know this, right? So if you had spent $1,000 in stock of these companies, look at what they would be worth in January of 2018. So had you bought $1,000 in Amazon stock in 2008, in 2018 January, it would be worth $15,000. I'm making a point, stay with me, right? If we go to the bottom of that list, you'll see Best Buy. You still would have made some money in terms of value, $1,600, yeah? And you see the likes of people like Walmart close to the bottom there. Walmart doesn't trumpet their great service. They say better prices. So they say $2,100. All of these have gone up, but notice, the better service organizations are at the top of the list. people like Amazon and Home Depot and Apple and Southwest Airlines. I like to talk about Southwest Airlines. No frills. If you've ever flown Southwest, no frills. $152 average price, average fare. Great service. They've never lost money. Have you heard of an airline that has never lost money? Southwest is such. 42 years, I think they've been in business, or a little bit more. Never lost money. Very simple model. Very simple model. We treat our people well. We empower them to make good decisions. They treat the customers well. Customers will keep coming back and they'll tell their friends. That's the model. That's the whole model. So when Congress had an inquiry after United Airlines, remember the United Airlines mess? Dr. David Dow was dragged off a flight, bloodied. You all remember that? And the price took a hit. It was like, I think it was 10 million or billion. I don't know the figure, but plenty money went down. And Congress called these airlines before them to talk about what are you doing regarding how you treat your customers. Southwest was ahead of the pack. It's hard to make money in the airline business, but they have done it well because they figured out if you treat customers well, they'll keep coming back. And the story I love is that after 9/11, when there were no flights and they were refunding their customers, they started to receive checks back from the customers. You keep the $150 because we want you to stay in business. Now, if that is not a testimony of great service, I don't know what is. And so I'm saying to you that if we treat organizations, as organizations rather, treat customers well, there is a financial return that is tied to that. But the question is your organization designed for that? We want happy customers. We want happy staff. We want the planet to be okay. We want to make money. Our leaders have to do well as well. We want triple bottom line accounting, I would imagine. Yeah? People, planet, and of course, profit. No business starts just to fail. All our shareholders want money or want a return on their investment. So I'm not suggesting for a moment that we should cheapen the shareholder experience for the customer. I'm saying that those two are not mutually exclusive, however. I'm saying you can actually make more money for your shareholders and have less complaints coming here to Dominic and his team if you treated your customers better. And in a world where social media is a big deal, this is something to be concerned about. Because, and I don't know, I have not looked into who's doing more of what and who's treating their customers better across banks and insurance companies. I'm sure there's some that do well, and I've had my own challenges as a customer. But I'll tell you, the more options you get, and the more options customers get, there will come a day when this thing will begin to tilt. There will come a day. It has to. Smart organizations change before they have to. So these are some of the organizations that are winning. And I put up all kinds of companies on here. Of course, I've talked about Southwest. Some of us know Zappos. If you don't know them, that's okay. They used to sell shoes. They sell all kinds of stuff. They were acquired by Amazon a few years ago, and they've been left alone because they do what they do so well. And some of us know about the Ritz-Carlton and their amazing service, and they've created a program called Mystique to mystify you as a customer. So they know that you're from Trinidad and you like scrambled eggs or whatever it is. I don't know if you like saltfish or whatever. And therefore, if you, or Tobago, and if you stay at a Ritz-Carlton as I did in Cayman Islands, and you've stayed somewhere before, they track your information so they know what you want for breakfast. And it happens as if it's magic. And nothing is ever a problem. And what they do is they empower their people. The people who clean your rooms have a $2,000 cap of money that they can spend to make you happy. They don't have to ask for authorization. It's automatic. So you might be thinking, oh my God, they'll give away the whole company. No, they won't. Because if you hire good people and you have good checks and balances, what people will do is make smart decisions. So they might say, your breakfast tomorrow is on us. Okay, so the breakfast, I don't know, is $50 or something like that. But you know what I will do? I'll come back. And you know return business is where the money is. Yeah? Who else is on here I want to talk about? This is Metrobank, London's first high street bank in 100 years. This is what the inside of the bank looks like. Different bank, right? And they say bring your dogs and bring your coins. They don't fuss. And they don't do bankers hours either. Hint. They don't do bankers hours. They said bankers hours make no sense to customers. It's true. Bankers hours make no sense to customers because people have to run away from work to come and do business, and they don't want to have to run away from work to come and do business. Hint. This is my bank, TD Bank. I bank with TD Bank. TD Bank is kind of cool. You don't have to line up. There's never a line. You could sit down, and they open 7 days a week. This is the inside of the bank. This is literally what it looks like. Sit on a couch. They bring pens and they bring sweetie and all kinds of stuff. No, they literally do. And if I have a deposit, I take my phone, I take a picture of the check, and that's the deposit, it's done. And that's how it is. I was in Vegas last week. I went to SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management. I spoke. It's a huge, largest HR conference in the world, 22,000 people. Biggest HR, huge, like a little city of people. And so I spoke about the neuroscience of change. And my card got blocked because somebody in some other part of the world tried to do some strange thing with it. And I tried and it didn't work, so I called them up, 1-800, a live person answers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A live person actually answers the phone. Yeah, and if you find you're waiting too long, you can leave it and they'll call you back. So I talked to her and I said, well, I'm in Vegas, this is my travel card, because, it's hard to get U.S. money out of Trinidad and Tobago. You all know how this goes. So, I've stopped trying now. So we wire our own funds to TD Bank so that we can have money to travel if we don't want to use our credit cards and whatever, and we use that for some things and not for others. I said, but this is the card, and, what can you do? She said, well, we can replace it. Can you come in? I said, well, no, I'm on the West Coast. And you guys are on the East Coast. They have, I think, 1,200 branches on the East Coast, or 1,700, or whatever the number is. What can you do? She says, no problem. I'll send it to you next day air. I said, what's the cost? No cost. We just want to make you happy. Now, some of you thinking, oh my God, what is that going to cost us? Because we have to print a new card, or we have to send that by FedEx. What's it cost to send a package by FedEx? See, how many times you've bought something from Amazon, something went wrong, and you ended up with 2. I've had this. And they know you're ending up with 2. They just want you to be happy. And they will literally tell you, we just want you to be happy. Now, we like it when these things happen to us as customers, of course. We like it. But somehow it doesn't translate into how we do business. Because it's going to hurt the bottom line, I'm sure it is. A few years ago, I asked Google how to create a signature service culture, how to create a customer-focused organization. Google didn't know. This was in 2012. Google didn't know. I couldn't find a model, in other words. And so I spoke. A company hired me to speak on the strategic importance of services. This is a long time ago now. This was in 2012. And when I was done, a guy came up to me and he says, where's the book? And so I wrote the book. On the way back, I wrote the first chapter. It's now chapter 4, Signature Service Strategy. I put together a model because I realized what organizations were doing was wrong. Organizations say, we want our service to improve. Let's do a customer service training program. No, it doesn't work. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't train our people. We have to. But if your systems are not aligned, if your decision-making is not aligned, if you are not putting money, if you are not clear about what's really important, if you're not empowering your people, if you're not hiring the right people, etc., it doesn't work. So what happens? You get a bump for a month or 3 weeks or 5 weeks, I don't know, and then you go back to the norm. And many of you are nodding your heads because you know this is in fact true. So we spend good money after bad. Here's my bold claim. Doesn't matter what business you're in. You only need a strategic focus on your customer. That's your overarching strategy. That is the overarching strategy. And then what you should be doing is backflips to align everything else to wherever the customer needs to go. Now, I know there are exceptions to that. The customer is not always right. I'm not one to say the customer is always right, because sometimes customers are wrong. We know that to be true. Yeah? But in most cases, when a customer comes and says, I would like this, customer in their reasonable mind thinks that it's okay. And even if they're wrong, there's a way to deal with that. And I've found, and what we're finding now is that the more organizations focus on what customers need, is the more they win. So it's either you're customer obsessed or you're waiting to to be made irrelevant by somebody who is. So here's the question, and I don't want you to answer, just think, is your organization customer obsessed? Don't answer, just think. I mean obsessed. I mean, the customer says, okay, we need to go over here. And you go, let's do it. Or do you go, what is wrong with these people? They don't know the rules, and they don't. They don't know our policies. They don't. And guess what? Customers don't care about your policies. We live in a digital world. There are things that are happening that should not be happening. This is a phone. It's also a timer, which I've now messed up. But this should have wires connected to it. Remember those days? There was a time if I needed to make a phone call because of the area I lived in, and to my brother who lived in the United States, I had to travel down to the exchange. Some of us are around long enough to know about that. Yeah? There are things that exist today that should not exist, and therefore the conversation that we should be having with our organizations, within our organizations, is not if, it's just how. I'm doing some work with the Cayman Islands, the government of the Cayman Islands, because of their need for competitiveness, and they don't have gas and oil like us. And so they have a different kind of need. And their whole question is, how do we make sure we are quick and still remain compliant? Civil service is having this conversation. Public service is having this conversation. Wow. Because they realize that they're in competition with Bermuda and Bahamas and Panama and these kinds of places. And if you want to be alive in another 10, 15, 20, 100 years, then this is what we have to do. We have to please our customers. Because the customers will ask, okay, why must I come here? I could go somewhere else. And the more the options come up, is very soon the organization will be in a position like that. Your organization will have to answer these questions. Signature service is the continuous delivery of a predetermined VIP levels customer experience across all platforms, all service points, all flash points. Meaning everywhere a customer interacts with you, you treat them like a VIP. Now, I know your brain is thinking, Richard, we don't have those kinds of resources. Yeah, because sure, if you have private banking and you could go upstairs and you get coffee and you have your papers, then that's cool. But I mean, if you're the only banking hall, then the line is going to get long. And then sometimes, it's the end of the month and we've got the elderly people, they're trying to cash their checks and we have all these different things. So we have to, CPAP people are coming to do their thing and all these different things. Or whoever it is, or this guy he doesn't understand the insurance laws. And I hear you. Stop asking if. Ask how. See, I don't have all the answers to this thing. That's your job to figure it out. But I'm saying, what we need to do is begin to now look at how do we deliver that level of service to our customers. And if you do that, then you'll be around for a much longer time. For sure. There's no doubt about that. And guess what? You'll even make more money in the short term. Because people will come back and they'll do more business with you. It's 5 times easier to sell to people who have already bought from you. So your marketing budget, you don't need to spend as much on advertising. There's something there. Now, if you're in advertising or marketing, I'm not suggesting they should cut your budget. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is that if you treat customers well, then you find that the group that is already there, they buy more from you, and they are less easy to be poached by others who are masking as you. And that's happening. There's a lot of that happening. And because I don't want to call any names, I'm not going to go further with that. So the model is very simple. Leaders take front. The leaders have to decide that service is a strategic, tactical, and operational priority. Not just in lip service, not just a plaque on the wall, not just an advertising campaign, in reality. So leaders go first, and they must model it, and we must do it internally. The same way we're saying we have to treat our external customers well, we've got to treat our internal customers well. It's hard to ask me as a member of staff to treat customers well if you're treating me like crap. Pardon the expression. It's hard. It's incongruous. So leaders go first. We must have a strong service vision that means something in the business. All organizations, including Disney and Ritz-Carlton and the others that I mentioned, that's one of the things that they have in common. In addition to that, we have to hire the right people. Let me slow down a little bit here. Some organizations recruit as if they're desperate. Pulse, we breathe in, put them in. See, let me tell you, you know this. The challenge at work is not work. The challenge at work is people at work, right? You know this, right? All of you who are in management and leadership, you know this. If you want your service to be great, you've got to find the right people. You cannot just grab people up and stick them in there. It just doesn't work. The service doesn't become amazing. Yeah? So we've got to make a grave effort to hire right. We have to orient and train them. I say, mix a strong batch of Kool-Aid really early on. Don't wait and allow them to be oriented at the water cooler or in the lunchroom. No. Where they get the wrong story. It has to be organized from very early on. We've got to empower people to make good decisions. I gave you the example of Ritz-Carlton a few moments ago. People have to be empowered to make sensible decisions. And if as a manager you're working too hard, because I've coached many managers who are just working way too hard. Their hand is involved in too many things and they're not asking their people. When we work with organizations and we look at systems and we try to improve service and so on, and we try to help the organization, I always say, look, I don't know your business, but give me your people. Because they have the answers. Because naturally, because of the human brain and the way it's structured, when people wrestling with a problem, naturally they think about solutions. Your people know how to make your service better right now. I guarantee you. And I've had situations where people come to me at the end, we produce a report, which is really all their own stuff. And they say to me, why did we need you? I say, you really didn't need me. Just ask the people. If you ask your people and trust them, providing that you've hired good people in the first place. That's why this is a model. It's kind of all connected. If you've hired good people in the first place, then they're going to have solutions for you. And even if they're not that great, they're going to have solutions for you, you know. That's the reality. So hire good people, orient them. Listen to the voice of the customer and become obsessive about it. Obsessive about the voice of the customer. I'm not talking about the once in a while survey. I mean, we're always gathering data about the customer. In the Cayman Islands, they have these little response pads. So you're walking through the airport and you've just gone through immigration and you've got to hit the smiley face, whichever one, or is it turned upside down and so on. You know, and if you hang around too long in the hall, like in the little, what you call it, immigration hall, somebody's going to come to you in a little vest that says customer service, says, are you okay? Are you getting through? I had a little challenge coming through the airport one time, and a young lady came up to me and she says, are you okay? I said, well, no, I had a little challenge here. And it was getting sorted out. She says, well, I noticed there were 2 bags that remained from your flight. That's probably yours. I'm going to just put them aside for you. I'm right here if you need my help. Really? Well, that's what we're talking about. Wouldn't it be great if your customers could feel that way and tell those stories about you? Listen to the voice of the customer so you know not only where they are, because where they are will tell you what you need to fix and change and where you're winning, but also where they want to go. And don't ask if, ask how. And then, of course, we must map, manage and measure the customer experience and adjust our systems. So here's what I'm saying here as I begin to wrap this up. We listen to the voice of the customer. They will tell us what we want. Now, we must align our systems in the business to deliver what the customers say they want. Kind of simple, right? I mean, and sometimes what that requires is that you go into the systems and really adjust them so that the customers can have what they want. Yes, I know you have some policies that preclude certain things and so on, but let your people know that they don't need to say to the customer, that's not the policy. That should be banned from the lexicography of the entire organization. We don't need to tell anybody that's not the policy. People should stop saying that. If there's a reason that we can't do something, we explain the reason. And I like to tell organizations, there's one finance organization that we're working with up the islands, and I challenged the CEO, I said, you should have a yes campaign. They're in mortgages. And he said, what's wrong? I said, no, we should have a yes campaign. So we go to no too quickly. Have a yes campaign. Wouldn't that make sense? Somebody comes and says, I want a mortgage. Say, yeah, no problem, we can do that for you. When we do the analysis, they don't qualify. Fine. Then we build a plan. You say, okay, so here's what you must do. You must save this, you must cut these debts, whatever it is, and come back to us in 3 years, or we'll work with you over the next 3 years to get you to a place. We start with yes. But we'd like to go to no so easily. We have all these policies, and let me tell you what happens. People whip customers with the policies. You may not know this, but our own research tells us this. People in organizations, staff, they will whip or they will hide behind the policies. I ain't doing that now because we ain't want to get into no trouble. Customers, of course, need to stand up and ask for what they want as well. Yeah. But we must align the systems. And the last thing is we must craft the culture of the organization. We must make it easy for people to do the right thing, for people to make the kinds of decisions that will bring that number down by 10, 15, 20%. And I know that can be done, you know. And I haven't asked what are the types of complaints that people have and so on. I haven't asked. But I know, and many of us know, that many of the issues that come up, if only we would pay a little bit more attention to those people who feed us, those people who keep our business going, those people who bring the returns, those people who manage, who make sure the bottom line is healthy, customers in another word, those people, if only we would pay more attention to them, then what you would find is that not only would they win, but you would win as well. So craft the culture of the organization where it's easy and it's safe to do the right thing, or even break or bend a rule to satisfy a customer. Oh, did you just say that? Yeah. Why? Well, guess what? You break and bend rules every day anyway. I'm not asking you. I am telling you. Because I sit behind sometimes and I observe, and we've done the research. If it's the right person making the right call to the right person, the rule can be bent, the rule can be broken. 90% of your customers will accept it just the way you've put it forward. That number sometimes jumps to 95% because what happens is that for organizations like banks in particular, we have a kind of reverence because they have our monies. So and they dress up nice and they talk nice. Yeah? So there's a kind of reverence. So we're not going to push too much. But you're going to have the 5%. I fall into the 5% that go, why you can't do it? Why you can't do it faster? Why does it have to take 7 working days? And I know the machine sitting in a room right there to print the card. What are you telling me about? And I know you'll be thinking, oh my God, systems, processes. Make it easy for your people in the culture to do the right thing. And you know what you do? You want to go further with this? Reward them when they break the rule. Oh, that's counterintuitive, Richard. Where are you going with this? Yeah. In other words, create heroes and sheroes in the business that see that rule breaking, and at least this gets out that I'm suggesting that we break rules in banks and insurance companies and destroy the financial system. We do not break rules when it comes to integrity or safety. Let me repeat that just in case this is being recorded. We do not break rules when it comes to integrity or safety. But most everything else is up for consideration. If we put these together, it allows us to create the kind of organization where we are customer obsessed. And if I had my way, more organizations would get on this train. We're working with, in some cases, now, I told you, Cayman Islands, we're working with telecoms, we're working with a few utilities, we're working with a city in the US, the whole city, they're rebranding themselves. And I wish more financial organizations would get to the place where, and I'm going to skip past some of this, get to the place where we would be prepared to bend the organization to deliver the kind of service that your customers want. Don't wait, right? I want to really, really admonish you. Don't wait until the industry starts to bend, until it gets to a place where the customer doesn't need you anymore. And don't say it's not going to come. I told you the story of Digicel and cable and wireless. Get on that train where you can deliver the kind of amazing service to customers, where they become your raving fans, where they tell the story of the organization, as we do of Amazon, we in this room. Get on that train. Design your organization to be able to deliver amazing service. It makes good business sense. People will come back. They'll tell their friends. After a while, what's going to happen as I close is this. Organizations will not be able to compete on product. Think about it for a minute. The issue of products, there'll be no competition there anymore, because your competitor can create what you do just as easily as you've done it. Given them enough money and enough time, the competition is going to be in terms of service. And if your service is better than the guy next door, then you stand a much better chance. It's not easy to duplicate, but if you start on that train, it's going to move in the right direction. And tell the world that you're doing it. Tell the world that you're creating an organization that is customer obsessed. Don't wait for somebody else to do it in your place. Thank you all very much.